guest for today's Touch Basins Hole is a cellist, Sol Daniel Kim. And it seems he was born to be a musician. His mother was an opera singer in Vienna, of all places. He started cello at the age of 6 and was accepted at the University of Music and Performing Arts of Vienna at just 9 years of age. As he grew up to become a respected soloist and chamber musician, he also continued exploring music and his Korean heritage as well, culminating in forming a duo called CelloGayageum in 2016 with Gayageum player Yoon Da-young. To tell us more about himself and his music, I'm delighted to say that we have Sol Daniel Kim joining us in the studio today. Hello, it's great to have you with us.
Hello, and thank you for having me here. Wow, that was quite a perfect introduction of myself.
Okay, well, in fact, I was going to ask you to introduce yourself in your own words first.
Oh, okay, all right. Well, hello there. I'm Sol Daniel Kim, and I'm an Austro-Korean cellist. Let me rephrase that. I'm an Austro-Korean cellist. Austro-Korean meaning that I'm actually a Korean, but with an Austrian nationality. Let me rephrase that again.
So yes, Korean, but born and raised in Austria.
Exactly.
For example, I'm a British Korean as well, Korean parents, but born and raised in the UK. As we said, your journey in music, though, began at a very young age in Austria because your mother was an opera singer in Austria, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
So you were surrounded by music from a very early age then?
Yes, I was actually surrounded by music when I was not even born because my mother was still singing when I was in her belly. So, yeah, basically I was born into music. Yeah.
Right, and then you started studying music, I understand, from the age of 4?
Exactly, yeah. I went to a preschool for music because my mom wanted to just see if I have any talent in music. So that's why I went into this preschool. And after 2 years, they asked us if we would continue doing music, what kind of instrument would we play? And that's actually quite a funny story because I wanted to play the violin or the piano, but I was like the 10th person in line to be asked for that, and all those other people said, yeah, I'm gonna play the violin, I'm gonna play the piano. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna choose something else.
Okay
Something bigger. So I said, like, yeah, I'm gonna play the cello.
Interesting. So cello wasn't your first choice, but do you remember at that young age what it was like when you first started playing the cello? Did you enjoy it?
Oh yeah, very much. I had a lot of fun. It was a big instrument and it has quite a bass to it. Of course, it wasn't easy to get a nice sound from the beginning, but I guess that's a struggle that all string instruments have at the beginning.
You say that, but you picked up the cello at 6, but then within 3 years, you had made it into the University of Music and Performing Arts, Vienna.
Oh, yeah.
At 9 years old. How does that happen?
Well, I was very fortunate that I met a very nice teacher there, and they, of course, listened to me and saw a potential, I guess. That's why they picked me and said, okay, come into our, how should you say this, I don't know the English word for that.
Like a prodigy kind of prodigy.
Yeah, exactly. Prodigy program, yeah.
Prodigy
exactly.
program,
yeah.
Okay. So is that usual? Does the university have lots of 9-year-olds come to study music, or was it something special?
Oh, I don't want to say that I'm special or something, but it wasn't common at that time. Yeah.
Well, it certainly sounds you were special. But then as you kept studying that music, how did you develop your music and your craft?
Well, since I started the cello at the age of 6 and I'm doing that since then, I had the fortune to meet quite a few famous and very good teachers like Heinrich Schiff and Jens Peter Mainz, and also lately Gauthier Capuçon, which are all very well-known cellists and very good teachers. So I was very fortunate about that. But then also in 2016, I actually discovered for myself that I don't only like playing music that's already written, but also enjoy composing and playing my own music. That's why I've actually started to play CelloGayageum as well.
Right, so CelloGayageum is when you started writing your own music, is that what you're saying?
Yes, exactly.
Okay, but how did you get into CelloGayageum and writing your own music? Because, as you said, you'd been practicing music all those years, but then to take that step into actually creating music must have been quite different.
You know, it's very funny because during my studies in Vienna, I've worked a lot with modern composers there and composer students, and also with some jazz artists as well. And I was always very, very envying those people because they were creating their own music.
Right.
Like, for example, jazz people are improvising all the time, and they're also writing their own music, which is part of their curriculum. And composers, of course, that's what they do. They have to write music. But for us classical musicians, it's quite, it's a pity that we don't get to actually write our own music.
Right.
So I was always having an eye on that, but never dared to do that because we have all those great composers like Mozart, Schumann, Brahms, Dvorak, etc. So we actually don't dare to just sit down and try to write our own music because it's like, how dare you? Kind of, yeah.
But you did dare, and then not only did you dare to do it with a traditional Korean instrument as well, the Gayageum. For the listeners who might not know, Gayageum is a traditional Korean zither-like stringed instrument, and for anyone who has seen traditional Korean music, they might be very familiar with it. But it's not usual to pair a Western instrument with Gayageum. How did that come about?
That's actually also a funny story because back in Berlin, I was just going about my day, and suddenly I got a call from the Korean Culture Center, and they invited me for a concert. And first of all, the first concert was a Gayageum player. It was actually Dayoung-yoon, who played with an orchestra.
Right, this is your partner from CelloGayageum.
Exactly.
Right, yeah.
And that's when I first saw the Gayageum on stage. And also then the Korean Culture Center invited me to play a concert with her together. And that's how I met her, and we started talking. And during our talks, I just briefly asked her about creating her own music. And she told me that she has done that before. And I was like, oh, that's so cool. And I was very curious about this Korean traditional instrument because it was the first time that I really saw it up close. And I just asked her out of the blue, do you want to try something out? Like, should we try to improvise or something? And that's how we created our first piece, Munghan, Dreamlike Fantasy, which is also the title piece of our first album.
Right. How was that process, though? As I said, it's not usual working with cello and Gayageum. Was it difficult or was it easy?
It was actually quite natural somehow. I mean, I'm sure people are gonna say or gonna guess it's gonna be very difficult to actually collaborate with a music instrument which is completely different than yours, but it started all with a recording on my phone, actually. I just started to record a pattern and I sent it to her and she listened to it. She said, oh, that's cool. So she put on a solo and that's how we started creating. The first beginning was very easy going, actually. And then when we started to really get deeply into it, we actually came across some differences between our musical backgrounds because there is certainly a difference between classical music and traditional Korean music in the sense of rhythm and also pitch and tonality and stuff, yeah.
So how have people reacted to your collaboration? People who've seen it, especially here in Korea, who know Gayageum and know traditional Korean music. How have they reacted to this new fusion of styles?
The reaction was very, very positive, luckily. Yeah, we are very fortunate that people actually like our music and want to listen to it. So, but not only in Korea, also in Europe. And we have also performed in Turkey 2 years ago, and they also seem to love it. And that's why we are actually still doing it, because people actually ask for our music.
Sure.
Yeah.
And has it fulfilled that desire for you for writing your own music, especially through this new medium of CelloGayageum?
Oh, yes, it certainly does. But I'm still hungry to explore new heights and also to experiment with new collaborations. And that's why we also tried to collaborate with a Hagen player as well. And we wrote 2 trios, which were also released. And yeah, I mean, you know, the thing is that when we create music, we just sit down and we basically do a kind of musical brainstorming. Like, for example, I play something from a genre that I like, for example, and then my partner says, oh, that's cool, let's try something out like that, and then let's combine that with some Korean patterns and stuff, and that's how we do our work.
How's it been this year? Because obviously with the COVID-19 pandemic, you haven't been able to travel or hold concerts that much. Has it been that way for you?
You know, first I panicked. I think a lot of artists panicked, actually.
Sure, I can imagine.
Because in the beginning of this year, when COVID-19 hit Germany, it was quite big and all concerts got cancelled. And I was like, okay.
Where were you at that time?
I was in Berlin, actually.
Okay.
I just came back from Korea, and I was just about to do my rehearsals for some upcoming concerts, and also for CelloGayageum as well. But then suddenly I got the call that everything is cancelled. They cannot let us perform in front of people, in front of an audience. So I was like, okay, that's very bad. But I had to think, what am I gonna do? Am I gonna just sit here and just wait, or should I do something about it? And I was lucky enough that there was still some stuff going on in Korea here, and I just picked up the phone, called my travel agency, and said, okay, I have to go to Korea because I have some stuff there, and COVID-19 is spreading, and if I don't get to Korea immediately, I might not even be able to enter later. So that's why I changed my ticket, came in earlier, and
So you made quite a big decision to come to Korea quite early, and you've been here since then, right?
Exactly.
When was that? That was in
April, in the beginning of April.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I came here, and it was that was quite a funny story, because I arrived in Incheon and I was ready to just take the bus, go home to my friend where I was gonna live, and I knew about the quarantine situation. So I was actually going to stay in my room of this friend's home. But suddenly 2 police officers came to me at the airport and just put me in the bus without saying anything. And then I was like, okay, what's going on? And then suddenly the bus drove to Chungnam, to a police academy, and I was put there for 2 weeks.
Right, that's the government facility where they put people coming in for a short-term stay who don't have a long-term visa to quarantine for 2 weeks.
Exactly.
Right, that must have been quite an experience.
Oh yeah, it was a once-in-a-lifetime experience, actually. Being in total isolation, that was quite something.
Yes, but then you came out of it, thankfully. And have you been performing then?
Yeah, since then everything unfolded quite in a very positive way. All those CelloGayageum concerts, we were so fortunate that we were one of the only groups and musicians to actually still perform in front of an audience. For example, we played in the National Gugak Center of Seoul.
Oh, wow. Yes.
In the Friday Contemporary Gugak program in their series. And we are one of the only artists that play in front of an audience before the government again shut down all outdoor activities. Yeah.
Unfortunately, we're running out of time, but then finally, can you just let us know, are you going to stay in Korea then, continue with CelloGayageum for now at least?
Oh yeah, I'm really looking actually forward to all those upcoming concerts that are planned, and also I'm gonna record a solo EP, a classical solo EP as well.
Wow, okay.
With Akdang Iban, where I'm gonna perform or record actually the first suite from Bach for cello solo, and also a sonata from Luigi Boccherini with another cellist.
So a lot to look forward to then for your fans, and also for our listeners as well. They should check out our KBS World Radio YouTube page, because a special performance of Seoul Daniel Kim will be uploaded soon, where you can check that out. So yes, we look forward to that as well. Thank you for coming in today, and yes, we wish you all the best for the future of CelloGayageum and your soloist career as well.
Thank you very much.